Okay, let's continue on with our skills that we've acquired in Lesson 3.3. Okay, in Lesson 3.1, we also studied how the value of a car depreciates after it's purchased. The original value of the car, 0 years after it was purchased, was $15,000, so that is a starting point. And we found that the value decreased, so it's going down, by $2,000 each year. And so they want us to write a formula in the form of V equals something that describes the value of the car in terms of the number of years after it was purchased, T. So we started out with the car being worth $15,000. And it's going to be decreasing, so we'll be subtracting something. And it's going to go down by $2,000 every year. So $2,000 times T was the number of years. So if you look at that, 0 years, well, it's just 15,000. 1 year, you're going to subtract 2,000. 2 years, you're going to subtract 4,000, and so on. So how much was the car worth 6 years after it was purchased? So if V is the value and T is the years, it makes sense to substitute the 6 in for T. Okay, so let's pause this and you can figure out what that would be. Well, our calculator should have calculated $3,000. So after 6 years, it was worth $3,000. Okay, 8 says, when was the car worth half of what it was purchased for? Well, it was purchased for $15,000, right? So if we're looking to half that, we're looking for when it is worth $7,500. And they said, provide your answer in years and months. So we have, this is our value. So 7,500, this can be our value, equals 15,000 minus 2,000 T. All right, so from what we learned, we need to move this 15,000 over to the other side here because we need to eventually get the T by itself. So let's subtract 15,000 from both sides. And it should not be a shocker that we get a negative 7,500 on the left side equals negative 2,000 T. So what do we do to get the to get the T by itself? Well, we have to divide both sides by negative 2,000. So our T is going to be 3.75. Now we know that the 3 stands for years, 3 years, but we need to figure out how many months 0.75 would represent. So we're looking for 75 hundredths of a year. There are 12 months in a year, okay? So when we multiply 75 hundredths times 12, we get 9. So it's 3 years and 9 months. Right, number 9. Here's a smaller version of the graph describing the value of the car from Lesson 3.1. Does your answer to question 8 match the information on the graph? Draw an arrow to the location on the graph that you used to decide. So let's look to see when, let's see, they said 3 years, 9 months. So that would be about right there. Well, the best we can tell, yes. Okay, so it doesn't look too bad. All right, so let's go to number 10. Number 10 asks us, how long does it take for the car to have no value? So we're looking for the value to be 0 at this point. So in our equation, we should have 0 equals 15,000 minus 2,000 T. Now if you wanted to, you could go ahead and subtract the 15,000 from both sides. There's more than one way to do this particular problem. And so I would get negative 15,000 equals negative 2,000 T. Now the last thing we would do here to get the t by itself is divide both sides by negative 2,000. Okay, and as you see, we get t equals 7.5. So it's going to be 7.5 years after it was purchased, it will have no value. And then 11 says, find an equation that provides a number of years since the car was purchased in terms of its value. Basically what they're asking us to do right now is to take our original formula, V equals 15,000 minus 2,000 t, and they want us to solve for t. So in this case, I would subtract the 15,000 from both sides. And that's going to yield V minus 15,000 equals negative 2,000 t. Alright, so the next thing we have to do is divide both sides by this negative 2,000. And we end up with V minus 15,000 divided by the negative 2,000. Now generally people do not like a negative number in the denominator this way. Well, we can fix this if you would like. Basically we can move this negative from the denominator to the numerator. So instead of having the negative 2,000 in the denominator, we could have a negative, then V minus 15,000 over 2,000 equals t. So what that will do, if we distribute that, that will give me t equals negative v plus 15,000 over 2,000.